So Colin's always been a very strong character. She has her convictions, and so this movie takes place after the events, obviously, of season two. How has she changed?
Um, well, I think that she's not as naive, and her passion is more of a this has become what she does now. Fighting for justice. Whereas before, throughout the series, there was so many choices she had to make. And as she was evolving, we really got to see in the series, this girl turn into a devoted fighter, and she had to pick a side, she had to choose, and she really had to shed this girl part of her and become tough. And we saw this happen, and I think now that's all behind her. She's not naive anymore. She's smart, she's savvy. And so we see a more mature Kallen who has lived a lot, and a lot of things aren't necessarily a surprise to her, and she knows how to kick ass. Like, she knows how to kick butt. And I think she's a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit jaded. Yeah.
So going back, looking at when you first worked on the first two seasons, how did you feel about the character? How did you feel about that ending? How did you feel just working through that whole character?
Well, and I was just telling a friend about this. We worked with a voiceover director, Kevin Seymour, who has since passed, and he was just a beautiful human being, and I'd say like a master geek. And he knew the series so well. He knew the characters inside out, and he made a choice to not tell us what was going to happen next. So when I was recording, usually when I'm recording, I know I'll ask the director, so what's going to happen? The director will tell us, and he'd go, I'm not telling you. I'm like, but is she going to fall in love? Is she not? Is she going to fight? So, you're just going to have to play the moment, my dear. And so what was, on one hand, frustrating, but on another hand, so fun and exciting was I had no choice but to be in the moment. So when every turn happened, as I was recording it, I was just as surprised as Kallen would have been as she was living it. And probably just as surprised as all the fans were when they were watching it. And I think that gave us a real freshness to that moment, because there was nothing that was anticipated, nothing that was telephoned in advance.
How do you feel as a voice actor? Do you think that benefits you to not know what's happening and go in as a moment? Or do you kind of like to know what happens so you can kind of prepare yourself?
Well, I'm a control freak, so I always like to know. But I actually think there is, unless you know that, unless there's things you need to know in that present moment because it's going to inform that present moment, I think that there's a real advantage to just being as fresh in that moment as the character is themselves. And I really enjoyed doing it that way. And it's more of a kind of a free fall, because you can't put preconceived ideas or anything. You just have to be there with the Japanese voice and the Japanese interpretation and everything else you know in that moment. So I think some projects you can't do that with, because there's a subtext and they're planning something and you want to know that in advance. But I think this one was really fun to be able to do that with.
So as a voice actor, we don't always see voice actors return after a certain amount of time for a variety of reasons. How was it when you learned that you were actually going to be going back to this role?
Excuse me, I was so excited. Kallen is a definite fan favorite. And fans, I mean, for years now, fans will come and they'll ask me questions about Kallen when I do conventions. You know, they have Kallen's picture. I mean, she's a definite fan favorite. So it was very, very exciting for me to know that that connection with the fans and their love for her, that I could participate in that with them. And I love her too. She's, you know, I tell people the characters I play are like my babies. You know, they're part of me. So she is inside of me, and to be able to come back and visit this one part of, you know, one of my many schizo personalities inside is just so joyful.
Who is your favorite character in the series outside of Kallen, obviously?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can answer that.
So, in the whole frame,
I think Zero's character is so complex. Lelouch Zero.
which production among those
I just think he's such an interesting and iconic character.
sort of exemplar?
I would have to go for that. Yeah.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Lelouch is my favorite as well.
Yeah.
So, out of your career of voice acting, what are some things that you've learned that you want to convey to your fans? Like, is there anything particular that, you know, these are my characters, but I want to show this off?
Say that again.
So is there anything you want to convey with your characters? Like when you do any characters, whether video games, animation, is there anything that you really feel that you want to bring to that character? Or is that just too broad of a question for you?
No. It's a great question. Let me see if I can meet it with a decent answer. I think what, and I'm speaking as me today, and 10 years ago I might have answered differently, but today I think what I most strive for is to find those moments that even catch me by surprise.
Right.
So I think whereas 10 years ago I would have said I was really trying to almost act by the book, like color inside the lines and make the character really exactly the way that I thought the character should be and that the fans thought the character should be. Whereas now what's really exciting to me is, of course, yes, do that, but don't hold the reins so tight as I'm acting to allow for these spontaneous moments when I'm surprised as it's happening and something happens that I'm actually not in control of. It's almost like the character takes over inside me, and it's not Karen Strassman, oh, her voice should sound like this, and there should be this music like this, and she should go up at the end with a question. But maybe it's that she's in a situation where she's trying to be in control, but she's also a little vulnerable, and for some reason I open myself to that, and there's this beautiful unrepeatable moment of trying to be tough but vulnerability that creeps through, and that comes through. And I think those are those little subtle moments where I kind of let go of control and allow myself to empathize so much with the characters that they just come to life through me. And these little subtle spontaneous things happen, or big spontaneous things, like something goes more intense than I'd expected. To me, that's anime magic. And I think that's the moments that are, in the end, sometimes the most pleasing to the fans, because there isn't a control. There's a very loose hands on the wheel, and the story is taking over, and the character's taking over and driving itself.
Thank you so much.